water so she could go to Disneyland. Now her story has exploded into a flood of controversy. That video of her neighbor calling the police, now viewed more than 1 million times.
Then caught on camera. A father targeting another dad during a school meeting, others in the room coming to his defense. And now we're hearing from that father who was attacked. TJ Holmes is here.
And Asian Americans has become a real problem in the U.S. amid the coronavirus that originated in China. And Asian Americans are reporting an increase in racist encounters after one of my CNN colleagues, Amara Walker, experienced 3 such
representatives for the onslaught of racist slurs used in a video at her home that recently surfaced. Judge Michelle O'Donnell says she is sorry and taking an unpaid leave of absence, but insists that she's not quitting the bench.
If you can only be tall because somebody's on their knees, then you have a serious problem.
Racism. An institution whose sole purpose is to further marginalize the people in our society that we claim to be different. A concept that has served as the foundation of America and will forever be a sin we must carry. It has touched essentially every community in some way, and it is a notion that must be researched even further. The purpose of this video essay is to help our audience understand the reach of racism. Starting from its origins, we will move on to the different sides of this conflict, how racism can be spread from person to person, and methods we can use to further prevent the spread of racism.
Talking about racism, when did it start? Where did it start? Who started it? I'm going to answer all these questions today. Back then, in the year of 1415, Europe was conquering much of the world, and the Europeans would capture African people and turn them into human properties. This was slavery, and yet they weren't given the title of racist because capturing them wasn't an unusual thing back then. And the reason to capture them? The Europeans saw it as missionary work to Christianize these African savages and free them from their curse. Europeans see themselves as the chosen ones and the superior ones to convert these Africans. This idea would later be passed to America, which would ultimately lead to white people discriminating against black people because they have adopted the mindset of the Europeans.
Over time, people started to recognize the awfulness of racism and decided to fight against it. Many organizations have been constructed to eliminate racism. During the Civil Rights Movement, there were many protests for equality from the NAACP and the UNIA. In our generation, there have also been protests, mainly regarding police brutality. These statistics are there to prove that there is an association between police brutality and race. As mentioned by Channel 4 News,
police killed more than 1,000 people in America in 2019. Black people are currently 3 times more likely to be killed by police, and 99% of killings by a police officer between 2013 to 2019 have not resulted in criminal charges.
Most of these protests are staged by the Black Lives Matter movement, who are an organization created to eliminate racism from our society. We have all tried and are still trying to unite against the idea of racism and make a change. People may see it as a black people versus white people issue, but it should be all of us against racism and discrimination. So far, we have come a long way from what society used to be, but we still have a long way to go. Even though exploring the origins of racism and how it has cemented itself into our society can be very helpful in finding out ways to eliminate it, another perspective we can investigate is how racist thoughts are spread from person to person. No one is born a racist. It is a learned trait. From a very young age, children will begin to absorb information from their environment, which will then ultimately decide their opinions in the future. One important factor to consider when talking about the spread of racism is the media. People tend to underestimate the level of influence the media has on them. Since we look upon the media as having some credibility, we are more liable to blindly believe what they say. Due to this relationship, The subtle ways in which the media uses racism to report stories will be unconsciously adopted by us, and we will unleash these habits onto society. Another factor to consider is religion. Religion is often intertwined with the current society, and because of this, religion often mirrors the generalized assumptions about society. People use religion as a way to justify their racist acts, and the long-standing teachings of certain religions set the stage for even further discrimination. These factors are also very important to consider when talking about the issue of racism. There are many organizations that exist today that are trying to fight against the systematic racism present in our country. As previously mentioned, the NAACP, which is an organization created in the wake of the 20th century to fight against black violence in America, is still a very active community when it comes to combating racism. Their vision is to combat against the educational, economical, political, and social discrimination that black people face every day. Additionally, the Black Lives Matter movement, which is another previously mentioned organization, is very active when it comes to staging protests and giving black people a voice in today's society. Several other organizations, including the Black Youth Project, the ACLU, the Color of Change, etc., are all trying their best to eliminate racism. They are seeking all the help they can receive, so if you're looking to take a stand against racial injustice, these organizations should be on your priority list to support. Racism is a very difficult topic to discuss right now. It affects so many people, and it still seems like the worst is yet to come. Stereotypes and prejudice are still high, and studies have shown that people are still more likely to associate negative connotations with black people. Tensions and conflicts between both sides of this argument are seeming to hit a new peak every day. But if there is one person who can help prevent this, it's you. Armed with the facts and the history, you can step forwards and start to help the anti-racist movement shut down racism in America. We must act now and help push the needle little by little so that future generations can rest easy. Thank you for listening to our essay, and we hope to see you at the front line.